Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
So it's an exciting time around our campus, and for our program as we kind of checked out on the 2016 season, and we've begun looking forward to 2017.
Coach Swing and Coach Scott, we have a strong relationship. We built that really good throughout the recruitment process.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on the 5th of July. Hope you had a great 4th of July, enjoyed yourself, and enjoyed being with family and friends and eating and hanging out and just doing all the things you love to do on July 4th. Good to have you back with us here live on Sports Talk. Hope you got a chance to check out the special show last night as we talked to all the college football coaches around our state from spring practice. Gave you a little bit of a football fix there, but we will move full speed and head first into football now, folks. It's here. We might as well just dive right into it. 800-956-7266. We'll be open for your calls tonight all the way through. Little visit from Darlington at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour. But we're going to open things up and talk some football tonight. I'm ready to get into football, in a football mode, in a football mindset. Clemson, a big pickup yesterday in receiver T. Higgins out of Oak Ridge. How do they do it? How does Clemson do it? You know, first they went into Tampa and destroyed Florida and Florida State and Miami to some degree in their backyard. Now they are decimating Tennessee right under its own nose. How does Clemson do it? Great players lead to great players, I guess. And you got great quarterbacks, great receivers want to play for you. But it's more than that. Clemson, you look at their recruiting class, the 11 they have committed for 2017, got the shiny pieces, but they also have the Bulldogs. Good-looking offensive linemen in that class. Clemson's recruiting right now definitely at one of the elite levels in the country, pretty much not getting everybody they want. They miss on some guys, pretty much picking and choosing and grabbing who they want. They do a great job of recruiting, and it continues. And the future for Clemson football will be bright beyond 2016. This will be a season in which they will make another strong run for the national championship. There's no question about that. But it's not going to end there, even though there'll be some transition from Deshaun Watson to whoever is next. But whoever is next is going to be a very skilled, highly regarded quarterback, whether it's Zarek Cooper or somebody else who steps in, Kelly Bryant or somebody else who steps in. So Clemson, you just have to be amazed with what they're doing recruiting-wise. We're going to talk a lot of recruiting. The opening is getting underway. We're going to cover some of that. Full recruiting report and your phone calls, your emails, and your tweets, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. are back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network around the state on over 30 radio stations. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk, also available on our website, sportstalksc.com. The video feed is there for you if you lose us over the airwaves. Also, the audio feed. And the video feed is archived on YouTube, so you can go back and catch any show that you might miss. You can also find us on iHeartRadio and also on the TuneIn app if you lose us over the air for whatever reason. So your smartphone is usable, your tablet, your laptop, your iPad, all those ways you can stay with us. When you get home, do not leave us in the car. Take us with you wherever you go every night here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut alone here in our Learfield studios on Main Street in downtown Columbia, along with Carson Mason, who's made it back from her holiday. K-Mac and the professor remain away on vacation. Next week, this time, we'll be into day 2 of SEC Media Days. I've got to think clearly here because yesterday just seemed like Sunday to me, so today feels like Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. Everything is messed up. Everything's sort of morphed together. So Monday coming is when SEC Media Days begins. And then, of course, this would be Tuesday of next week, a week from today, and then on through Wednesday and Thursday is when USC will be there, and we'll be there for all of that for you. Here on Sports Talk, things start to really pick up pace-wise. Week after that, you've got Dabo Swinney, his annual golf tournament and media meeting, and also ACC Media Days later in the week over in Charlotte. We'll have that covered for you as well. So looking forward to it. Before you know it, we'll be on the road around the state with our Palmetto Pigskin Tour stop, hitting up all the schools in South Carolina. 800-956-7266. That is the phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, it's it's sportstalksc, at sportstalksc on Twitter. That's how you can reach us tonight. Lines are open. Give us a call. Love to jump into the football conversation. So getting back to Clemson and what they're doing recruiting right now, it's plenty spectacular. As we've talked about before, the Tigers have passed on some players in state because they've been eyeing what they think is superior talent outside the state, and they've been very successful. T. Higgins, and again, you just have to go on his high school record and what he has done in football and basketball and what he's done in various camps. I mean, by all accounts, this is a great receiver prospect. 6'5", 190, fluid runner, great hands, goes up and gets the football, et cetera, perfect for Clemson's offense. And his best friend, or one of them, is Amari Rogers, who's already committed to Clemson. He's close friends with Clemson quarterback commitment Hunter Johnson. Tennessee fans must really hate Clemson right now, because, I mean, think about it. Over the years, in-state recruiting at Tennessee, nobody was going to take anybody away from Philip Fulmer. Nobody. They were going to get it done in their state. Unless you were Alabama, they would lose an occasional great player to Alabama out of the state of Tennessee, but not often. Philip Fulmer and his crowd would shut that state down. Then they would come into South Carolina, especially over in the upstate area, and get good players. Now Clemson has gone into Tennessee and taken 3 of the top players in the 2017 class. They already have a commitment from a top player in the 2018 class, and Hunter Johnson, 2017 quarterback commitment, was committed to Tennessee until Clemson flipped him in December. If you're a Tennessee fan, you hate Clemson right now because they are beating your brains out in your own backyard. Amari Rogers, the son of a former Tennessee star quarterback, living in Knoxville. T. Higgins in Oak Ridge, about 20 miles up Interstate 40 from Knoxville, right in your backyard. That has got to be driving the Tennessee people crazy. And if you're sitting in the Tennessee football office and you're sitting in the recruiting office, you got to be thinking, what are they doing? Just like down in Florida when they were getting those players out of the Tampa area, the Florida people had to be thinking, what are they doing? How are they getting this done? They're just working hard, identifying prospects, building relationships, And, of course, winning helps, and having facilities helps as well. All that has come together for Clemson, and it's leading to a great run in recruiting for the Tigers, and there's no let-up in sight. I was looking at the roster of players at the opening, which begins this week, players arriving today. And Clemson's involved with many of them that they have a chance to get. Any of these guys they have a chance to get. They're on the short list. Athlete Marquise Bell from New Jersey. Athlete Devon Hunter from Virginia. Athlete Jerry Jeudy from Florida. Athlete Jamias Williams from Georgia. And South Carolina is involved with as well. Defensive end Malik Herring from Georgia. 2018 defensive end Xavier Thomas from Wilson. USC also involved there. Defensive tackle Jordan Williams of Virginia. Linebacker KJ Britt from Oxford, Alabama, is a USC target. He's at the opening. Clemson commitment offensive lineman Matt Bockhorst from Ohio. Linebacker Jordan Anthony from Baltimore. He goes to IMG Academy. That's a Clemson target. Linebacker Justin Foster from Shelby, North Carolina. That's another Clemson target out of Crest. Linebacker Drew Singleton from New Jersey. Offensive lineman Trey Smith from Jackson, Tennessee. That's another Tennessee target for Clemson, another player they have a legitimate chance to get. Offensive lineman Andrew Thomas from Atlanta. He's going to announce at the opening. Feeling is he's going to go to Georgia, but Clemson's in his final three. I mentioned quarterback Hunter Johnson, a Clemson commitment who's already there. Running back Chase Hayden out of Tennessee. He's a USC target, and the Gamecocks are one of three for him right now, along with Arkansas and Missouri. Another USC target, running back Anthony McFarland from DeMatha High School up in Hyattsville, Maryland, is there. Clemson target, running back DeAndre Swift from Philadelphia. He's going to visit Clemson later on this month. Defensive back A.J. Terrell from Atlanta. He's a Clemson and USC target. I mentioned T. Higgins, the receiver from Oak Ridge. Receiver Jeremiah Holloman from Newton, Georgia. Actually, it's Newton High School in Covington, Georgia. He has a USC offer. Clemson commitment Amari Rogers is there. And receiver Ortre Smith from Wando is there, a USC and Clemson target. So the Gamecocks have some there. Clemson has more. And the Tigers are in very good shape with several of those guys with a chance to land them over the next several weeks, as many guys are going to make commitments here by the end of July before they start their fall football camps. So Clemson recruiting going extremely well. Now, if you're South Carolina, of course, under a new regime, you know you're in catch-up mode. And Muschamp and company, I give them 100% for effort. I give them 100% for planning. I give them 100% for diligence. But they're playing right now from behind when it comes to Clemson. What they have to do right now is try to keep the gap from a talent standpoint from continuing to widen and eventually be in a position to recruit the kind of talent that will help them close that gap with the Tigers, as they did, of course, when they had that run of strong in-state players a few years ago that helped them win 5 in a row against the Tigers. Now, how long that will take is anybody's guess. Winning leads to all the success you have in recruiting more than anything else. Relationships are great. Academics are great. Facilities are fine. New dorm rooms are wonderful. A putt-putt course in your football building, that's nice. But you got to have winning first. And how much is South Carolina going to win this coming season? You know, can the Gamecocks get to 7 wins? I think they can. Want to talk about that as well tonight. 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment. Back on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. I know you're still probably hungover from the long holiday weekend. What a long holiday weekend that was, because let's face it, many of you started on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and now today's Tuesday. You're kind of your brains are still kind of scrambled. That's fine, but now it's time to put the pieces back together and start thinking clearly. And join us here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. The number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. We'll check out some tweets as well. Our Twitter address. If you're not following us, you should be. Jump on board. Twitter address is @SportsTalkSC. Now, I was talking about South Carolina before we hit the break and why I think the Gamecocks can get to 7 wins. Well, first of all, I think the schedule sets up okay for them to have a chance to get to 7 wins. I don't think the schedule is an absolute backbreaker by any means for them this year. Number 2, I do believe that I know they're freshmen, but I believe between Jake Bentley and Brandon McElwain, they're going to find a quarterback. Those two guys are very talented in their own ways, and I think they're going to find a quarterback there. Is Perry Orth going to surprise me and emerge as the starting quarterback based on having the experience and what he did last year? I mean, there is something to be said for experience. But what he has in experience, I mean, he lacks in talent compared to these other two. He doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the arm strength, doesn't have the size that those other two have. McElwain has the excellent speed. He also has a very good arm. He's got a lot of savvy and a lot of confidence about him. And Bentley, of course, has the better size, maybe the better arm, maybe not the speed, but he runs okay. So I think between those two, they'll find a quarterback. I think the offensive line is going to be okay. The running game will be a question mark. I think David Williams has it in him to be a very good running back. Can they get it out of him? I think the receivers are going to surprise a little bit. Excuse me. I think that in particular, I think Deebo Samuel's got a chance to really have a big year. He's got to stay healthy, but I think he's got a chance to have a really big year. Smith playing wide receiver. Probably a great move for him. Gives them a threat at that position and gives them somebody who has some good speed and who has offense in his background. Remember, at one time, he was a running back, so I could see him contributing right away. Terry Guger, no reason why we shouldn't see him do some good things. And Brian Edwards, the freshman, he's got talent galore. So I don't understand, why. I mean, I know it's sort of inexperienced. Then you got a guy like a Hayden Hurst who could break through. He's a tremendous talent. So I think they have a chance to surprise some people along the way. And I don't think the schedule is as daunting as you would typically think for the SEC. We'll dive into that when we come back from the break and take your thoughts. 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. Take some phone calls here in this portion of the program, wide open for your calls. Ring us up. We'll get you right online, 800-956-7266. A little more about South Carolina, talking about on the offensive side. I mean, I think the offensive line can be pretty good. Zach Bailey got an all-SEC career ahead of him. Mason Zandy is big at one tackle and experienced. He's played. Donnell Stanley's going to get his chance. DJ Park's going to get his chance. Very solid at center with Alan Knott and Corey Helms. Of course, Helms can slide over and play guard if necessary. So I think the offensive line will be very solid. Kicking game should be fine with both Kelly and Fry back. So they're solid there. Defensively, up front, their front seven, even though Sky Moore is not going to be around, I still like the front seven from the line through the linebackers. Of course, the secondary is going to be a question mark. I would have liked the secondary a little bit more if things had worked out with J.C. Jackson, but for whatever reason, did not. So they've got to they could have really had a couple of experienced junior college lockdown corners with Marcus King and J.C. Jackson there. But, they'll have King on one side, and he is coming off a touted college career. He's got to live up to it, of course. We've seen highly touted junior college players not pan out at South Carolina and other places. But some of these other guys are just going to have to start playing up to what their reputations are. DJ Smith has got to play better. Chris Lamons has got to play better. Rico McWilliams has experience. He's been in the program for a while. I think Rashad Fenton's got a chance to help him out at corner and also in the return game. So, they do have some question marks at secondary. No question about that. Maybe the defensive front is going to be improved to the point where they're going to put better pressure on the quarterback, and that will aid the secondary in their coverage. And from what we've heard from the spring and all, of course, Quay Lewis should be very good at defensive end. Boosie Whitlow at defensive end. Shamik Blackshear's coming off gunshot wounds. He's getting better. He should be able to help out. And right in the middle, I expect guys, some of the new guys to step in and play. Plus, you've got Kelsey Griffin back, Abu Lamine. So I think they've got a chance there to be better on the defensive side up front and through the linebackers. The question mark, of course, will be the secondary. So how does that translate into wins and losses for the Gamecocks when you look at the schedule, just based on what you know about the teams, what they have coming back, and their reputations? I mean, you look and you say, well, South Carolina, can they go to Vanderbilt and win a game? Can they beat East Carolina at home? Can they beat UMass at home? And can they beat Western Carolina at home? If the answer to all four of those is yes, those are 4 wins right there. That's 4 out of 12. Okay? Then, if you can win at Vanderbilt and get yourself some early confidence there, I'm not going to project them to go into Starkville and beat Mississippi State. I know Mississippi State is starting fresh at quarterback, but that's a tough place to go into and win for a good football team, much less one that is in rebuilding mode. But come back and beat East Carolina at home, and that gives you a win. You go on the road to Kentucky. Kentucky is one of those teams that has underperformed the last couple of years, a couple of 5-7s for them. Maybe if the Gamecocks get off to that 2-1 start, they're feeling pretty good, they can go into Kentucky and steal a game there. Then you get Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, and Missouri all in a row at home in league play. And, being at home will certainly be a benefit. I think Missouri is definitely beatable in Columbia. Definitely beatable. The other 3, South Carolina will be grossly out-talented by all 3 of those schools. But get them at home and you see what happens. So if South Carolina could somehow go 2-2 against those 4 at home, Well, there you're talking about 6 wins. At that, you got 6 wins right there with the other 4 that I mentioned. You've got 6 wins. And then, you got Florida and Clemson, and I wouldn't expect them to win either one of those games at this particular time. So you got 6. You got a chance for 6 or 7 wins there. You got to play good football, and some guys have to play up to the standard, and some guys have to overachieve. You have to get some breaks, and you have to stay healthy. But I think with this schedule and with the team that they've got, and I think the coaching is going to be very good as well. I look for, I think Muschamp's going to be an excellent head coach at South Carolina. He's doing and saying the right things at this point in time. I think he's put together an excellent staff that he believes in. They seem to believe in him. That's a key factor as well. They've kind of rallied around him. And, McClendon and Bentley and Sean Elliott and Roper, I think, form an excellent offensive staff. So I think Muschamp will let them do their thing, put in his 2 cents. But really, with his defensive prowess, he needs to focus on the defensive side with Travaris Robinson and really work hard to rebuild that defense, knowing that maybe the offense is going to have its issues, and you're not going to have an offense that's scoring 30, 35 points a game. You're going to have an offense that's scoring 25 points a game. So the defense is going to have to stand tall and maybe win some games, which you might kind of laugh at when you consider what the defense has done recently. But I think this defense is going to be better than it was last year. I should have mentioned Bryson Allen Williams as well when we were talking about the defensive players, and because I didn't talk about the linebackers as a group, because I think we all understand as a group of linebackers, even without Sky Moore, and you hate not having Sky Moore, the linebackers as a group, they are the strength of this South Carolina, not only just the defense, but the strength of the overall team, I would say. I think they've got several outstanding players on defense. So I can see 6 or 7 wins being squeezed out. And if that's the case, you're going to go to a bowl game, and you're going to have something to build on moving forward into 2017. If you're South Carolina fans right now, you have to just kind of accept where you are, accept your medicine here in 2016, and kind of set your sights on 2018, 2019, when McElwain and Bentley are going to be juniors, and some of these young guys will also be juniors. You'll have an older group that's been through it. Then you kind of think that maybe you'll be in a position to be highly competitive in the SEC. So, I think in Clemson's case, you're talking about getting ready to make a run for it all once again. I don't see much in the Tigers' way. Do any of you? I really, Florida State down there, of course, you can't put that in the absolute W column. In fact, one of the Vegas sports books has Florida State favored in that game. Of course, Auburn, I think that if you're Clemson, you have to be very careful about Auburn. Some people believe Gus Malzahn is on the hot seat at Auburn, and he's going to have to really rally his guys. He's got to fix his quarterback situation. If he does, they could be dangerous. Kevin Steele has circled that game on his personal calendar for personal reasons. Beyond, trying to help Auburn off to a great start, this is a personal game for him, no doubt about it. And he's got a good defense. He's got good defensive talent. Auburn has got a defense that can challenge Clemson's offense to a large degree. Clemson is going to have to play very good offensively to go into Auburn and win that game. But they should. They should win that game. You still have to deal with Florida State down there. You have to deal with Louisville at Clemson. And you have to go into Atlanta and do something that Clemson hasn't done a whole lot, and that's beat what should be a rebounding Georgia Tech team. So there are some danger spots along the way, but I think Clemson's got the answer at every turn with this football team. At least on paper, there's no reason to think that they won't win their way back into the national playoffs. We'll be right back here on Sports Talk. back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Let's dive into the recruiting report, catch you up on what's been going on since the last time we talked, which was live on Friday night. So yesterday, Clemson gets a commitment from receiver T. Higgins, 6'5", 190, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Did you see how he did it? Nicely done. I have to give – I'm not crazy about guys trying to outdo one another with their announcements on video or however, but this was done nicely. If you didn't see it, we have it in the story on our website, sportstalksc.com. We've got the link to it. He did it on Twitter. It was a video put together by who was that? Who did that? Help me out. Yeah, Bleacher Report. Was it Bleacher Report? Yeah, I think it was Bleacher Report. Worked with him on that. Basically, the setting was a picnic, a July 4th picnic, family and friends. And as the video rolled, you saw a different person wearing a piece of clothing representing one of his finalists, or there was an item that had an emblem representing one of his finalists. Finalists were Clemson, Ohio State, Florida State, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. And then at the very end, it has like fireworks going off from different directions, and they form an orange tiger paw glowing in the sky, in the darkened sky. Nicely done. Nicely done. He is a very understated young man. I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot. So it's not like he's very verbose and like that, but this is how he wanted to make his announcement. He did say that he had a good relationship with Sweeney and Scott. He was favoring Tennessee, remember, as of June 16th when he put out a top 5. But then he went to Clemson camp, hung out with the Tiger coaches, kind of rebuilt that relationship or added to it, and that was that. 52 catches, 941 yards, and 28 touchdowns last season. 11th Clemson commitment for the 2017 class, and we've gone over the stuff about the Tennessee relationship there. Defensive back Nate Culpepper of Miami released a top 7 over the weekend with USC on the list, with Michigan State, Tennessee, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Louisville, and Utah. He was offered by the Gamecocks earlier this year, getting a lot of interest from recruiter and defensive backs coach Travaris Robinson, and he's returning the interest in kind. He sees a great opportunity to play early at USC, plus he likes the idea of being coached by Robinson. He says that they see him along the lines of a Jalen Ramsey type player. He's made 2 unofficials to USC, not set up any visits for later this summer, but he does plan to return to USC at some point. He said there is no order to his 7, but USC is recruiting him the hardest of the group right now. Defensive back A.J. Terrell from Alabama, being strongly recruited by USC and Clemson. They are 2 of his top teams at this point, along with Florida, Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama, pointing towards a decision on his birthday, September 23rd, though that's not absolute. Between now and then, he plans to visit as many of his favorites as possible. His most recent stop was to Clemson last month for a camp session. Really likes Clemson, likes secondary coach Mike Reed. He says they have a great relationship, hears from him almost daily. Says he feels very comfortable at Clemson. He has not identified a leader from his top 6, but the visit to Clemson did work well for the Tigers. He says Clemson is really high on his list. He also attended satellite camps staged by Georgia and Florida in Atlanta last month. As for a visit to USC, he's expected to get to Columbia sometime in July. He's competing at the opening in Oregon this week. Kent State was the most recent offer for athlete Tansy Richardson of South Aiken. Remains in touch with USC, was invited to come back for a visit this month. Of course, he wanted to commit to the Gamecocks last month, but they weren't ready to take it at that time. Richardson said he no longer has a favorite. His other offers are Colorado State, Southern Miss, Mississippi State, Coastal Carolina, and Charleston Southern. At the opening today, Clemson quarterback commitment Hunter Johnson said he's going to do some recruiting work for the Tigers on receiver Ortre Smith of Wando, running back DeAndre Swift of Philadelphia, offensive lineman Trey Smith of Jackson, Tennessee. He told 247 Sports, I guess that's 24/7 Sports, that on Smith and Swift, he said, quote, "I feel good about Ortre and I think I feel good about DeAndre too. Linebacker KJ Britt of Oxford, Alabama, has been in contact with USC recruiter Coleman Hutzler. Remains interested in the Gamecocks. He said, I love South Carolina. They are low on linebackers. He said he's no longer in touch with Clemson. He's also talking to UAB, South Alabama, Georgia Tech, Jacksonville State, Georgia, Florida, and LSU. There is no favorite. He'll probably come to a USC game this season. He is at the opening this week as well. We got a little bit more for you in recruiting coming up after the break. All right, some more recruiting for you as we catch up on things from over the weekend and the first part of this week. Furman added a late signee and tight end Caleb Auer of Buford, Georgia. Now to basketball. Late last month, 6'6" shooting guard Najee Marshall of Greenbelt, Maryland, made an unofficial to USC. The Gamecocks on his short list. He's working on a decision he'd like to make by the end of July. His coach is Brendan O'Connell. He said that Marshall told him he likes South Carolina a lot. He's been to about 6 schools. He's got 4 or 5 he likes. He enjoyed Pitt. He enjoyed Xavier. Maryland's always been a school he likes. And he went to Pitt and USC on the same day. Somehow he pulled that off. The relationship, the coach said, is with the new USC assistant coach, Bruce Shingler. The coach said he doesn't know Frank Martin. Virginia Tech is also in the hunt. He believes Xavier, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, and Maryland have been the strongest, the longest, and USC coming on late. He's not named a favorite, Marshall has. He averaged 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists per game last season. And in baseball, over the weekend, Clemson picked up a commitment from 2018 catcher Adam Hackenberg of Fork Union Prep, Virginia. He batted .415 this season, was named first-team All-State. And his brother is the former Penn State quarterback, Christian Hackenberg. He is the 6th commitment for Clemson's 2018 class. There you go with recruiting here tonight on Sports Talk. Be sure to follow along on our website, sportstalksc.com. That's where we put our recruiting information, and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, and on Twitter for recruiting, of course, hashtag STRecruiting is how you can keep up with all our recruiting information on a regular basis. All right, we'll catch you up on some other news notes of the day. Some interesting things to talk about from Clemson. The Tigers have 6 players on the watch lists for the Maxwell and Bednarik Awards combined. That ties them with Alabama for the most in the country. On the Maxwell Award watch list, this is for the Player of the Year award. It's quarterback Deshaun Watson, a finalist last year, running back Wayne Gallman, and receiver Mike Williams. And on the Bednarik Award watch list, that's for the Defensive Player of the Year, you have defensive tackle Carlos Watkins, cornerback Cordray Tankersley, and linebacker Ben Boulware. So Clemson, once again, showing off its talent. You know, you look at this Clemson football team, and not a lot of real big question marks where they have lost people. They've got people who have played ready to step in. Guess the couple of question marks would be that one cornerback position opposite Tankersley and the safety positions too, where some relatively new guys are going to have to step up and play a lot of snaps because they lost their primary players from back there last year. But as they showed last year, they were able to plug in new guys and get it done. Feel like they'll be able to do the same thing again this season. Okay, we're approaching the top of the hour break here on this Tuesday edition of Sports Talk, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Tuesday night from downtown Columbia, our Main Street studios. Good to have you with us wherever you're dialed in. 800-956-7266, the number, if you want to jump on the phone lines and join us here on Sports Talk tonight. One more recruiting item I meant to pass along in basketball. USC Upstate head coach Eddie Payne announced the signings of 3 players. They are Thomas Booker, 6'3" guard from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Tim Hart, 6'3" guard from Plano, Texas. And Nick Korniak, 6'7" forward from Henderson, Kentucky. It's now official, just being announced. Jackie Bradley Jr., former Gamecock star outfielder, will start in his first All-Star game. He has been voted on to the American League All-Star team. They're announcing the starters as we speak for the American League. Last check, he had over 2.1 million votes from the fans. So congratulations to Jackie Bradley Jr. Makes him the first Gamecock on the All-Star team since Brian Roberts, the second baseman, who actually was more Tar Heel than Gamecock. I mean, I think how many years did he play at USC? Was it 1 or 2? Didn't he just play 1 year when Ray Tanner took over because North Carolina had fired his dad as the coach there, Mike Roberts, and he came to South Carolina. I think he just played the 1 year, but he's listed as a South Carolina guy and had a really good major league career. So your American League lineup, if I can read it real quick: catcher Salvador Perez, Eric Hosmer at first, Jose Altuve at second, Xander Bogaerts at short, Manny Machado at third, Betts, Trout, and Bradley Jr. in the outfield, and Ortiz is the DH. All right, there you go. That's how the fans have voted. And you know what? I think they pretty much got it right. I think all those guys you're shaking your head. Carson shaking her head like, huh, what's this? I think most of those guys are having terrific years, aren't they? I don't think, sometimes you get guys on there strictly because of their career and their name. I think you wanted to see Miguel Cabrera. Well, you're a Tigers fan, so that's, I can understand that. But no, it looks like a pretty good starting lineup for the American League. There's one game in Major League Baseball from this afternoon. We can update the score on that. The Cubs and the Reds were going at it this afternoon at Wrigley Field. Cubs scuffling a little bit here of late after that hot start, and they end up losing to the Reds 9-5 this afternoon at Wrigley Field. Braves and Phillies getting underway in Philadelphia here shortly. Back in a moment. We are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. If you want to chime in on the program. Last night had a chance to go over for the first time to see the Columbia Fireflies and their new ballpark, Spirit Communications Park. Beautiful. Simply beautiful. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Good baseball. Hot dog was delicious. Nathan's hot dog. Not trying to catch up with, what's his name? Joey Chestwood. He ate 70. No, it's not Chestnut. It's Chestwood, isn't it? Carson's telling me it's Joey Chestnut. Isn't it Joey Chestwood? I'm going to check you on that. You might be right. Anyway, he ate like 70 of them. Yeah, Joey Chestnut. Very good, Carson. You're right. He ate 70 of them. Of course, it's kind of cheating when you soak them in water and that's just gross. That's just flat out gross. But anyway, good hot dog last night. Weather was okay. The way things are situated there at that ballpark, when they're playing a night game, the sun is behind you. So you're in the shade created by the overhang of the stadium. Made it as comfortable as you could be in 90-degree heat and that humidity in Columbia. But the ball game was good. It was the Fireflies and the River Dogs, two bitter rivals, as rivals go in minor league baseball. And the baseball was good. Saw guys throwing in the mid-90s, saw some very good defensive plays, not a lot of offense. Somebody had a 2-run homer for the River Dogs. Had over 9,000 people there. And you know what? You didn't feel crowded because the stadium is nice and it's broad and it's got plenty of seating and walk-around room and all that. So 9,000 folks there and didn't really feel like you were bunched in. So really enjoyed it. I will go back for another Fireflies contest when I get the opportunity. Some other news notes to pass along to you. Sad news from the Clemson family. Former Tiger All-ACC defensive lineman Tony Stevens passed away yesterday after a long battle with a respiratory problem that recently led to pneumonia. He was only 51. He was out of Walterboro, starting middle guard for the Tigers' ACC championship teams of 86 and 87. First team All-ACC in 1987. Third-round draft choice of the Saints in 1988. So sorry to hear that news about his passing. Let's see here. What else I want to pass along to you? Baseball America. Obviously listening to me because I've already guaranteed. Did I guarantee? I think I pretty much guaranteed South Carolina would be in Omaha next baseball season. Well, Baseball America released its projection for the 8 teams who will be in Omaha next year. Now, you know as well as I do, it's just a complete guess at this time of the year. You don't know how pitching's going to hold up. You don't know how injuries are going to play out, et cetera. Who's going to have an expected good year? Who's going to slump? So East Carolina, USC, along with East Carolina, they project East Carolina to go to Omaha. Florida, Florida State, Long Beach State, LSU, Oregon State, and TCU. That's what Baseball America has for the field for the College World Series next year. Speaking of college baseball, tomorrow night, Gary Gilmore will be with us here on Sports Talk for the first time since winning the national championship. Also tomorrow night, Marcus Lattimore pays a visit to Sports Talk in the first half hour of the show. So be sure to join us for that tomorrow night. A few other things of major interest to pass along to you. At Newberry, basketball coach Dave Davis has announced the hiring of Jay Reed as an assistant coach. He comes to Newberry after a season at USC Salkehatchie, where he was the associate head coach and helped direct an offense that averaged 85 points per game. That will fit right in with what Coach Dave Davis likes to do there at Newberry. And speaking of basketball, Bob Harris, one of the great announcers of our time, going to hang it up after this coming basketball season at Duke. He is a Hall of Fame broadcaster, 40 years the voice of the Duke Blue Devils, and there's going to be a formal press conference tomorrow at Cameron Indoor But the word got out today that he's going to announce his retirement. 3-time recipient, North Carolina Broadcaster of the Year, and just a great guy. And just a great guy. Did you know? You probably didn't know this. Very few do. He once ran a tire store. I can't remember if it was Goodyear or Firestone. I think it was Goodyear. He once ran a Goodyear store in Dillon. Lived in Dillon. And I don't know how he went from that into the media and into radio, how he got, if that was just maybe he had started his radio career, then he took a break to make some money for the family and then got back into it. I don't know. But obviously, being the play-by-play announcer for Duke basketball, he has been a part of some of the most memorable moments in recent college basketball history. But just a terrific guy. Wish him the best. But he still has another year to go. So Duke fans can enjoy hearing him one more season. Alabama, how about this? Alabama self-reported its violations, announced it on Sunday, their list of self-reported violations. 5 of the 19 reported violations involved the football team. One was because it's so typical of the NCAA and their silly rules in so many areas. One of the violations against Alabama, remember when South Carolina had the violation about, was it too much icing on the cupcakes? They had some kind of violation like that, too much icing on the cupcakes for recruits. Well, this violation was that the national championship trophy was temporarily placed in an area where prospects on official visits would be, which resulted in an impermissible recruiting decoration of that area. I cannot believe that they have a rule. I guess it's the same rule that applies to decorating your cakes. Alabama said it provided additional rules education for the staff. Coach Saban, I'd like to talk to you for a moment, please. Hurry, I'm busy. What do you want, Mr. President? Yeah, Coach Saban, if you don't mind, would you please not show off your championship trophies, please? Would you please leave them in the trophy case, which is required by NCAA laws? Yeah, sure, Mac, whatever you say. I got to go build another football team now. Yeah, they provided additional rules education for the staff, and it declared prospects involved ineligible until reinstated by the NCAA. Can you believe that? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Some other violations in the football program, a little more of a serious nature, but not that serious. Former Alabama athlete gave free personal training to football players. A coach sent a text message to a recruit and was then barred from making recruiting calls for 2 weeks. The recruit was then not recruited for 30 days. Another coach texted a recruit as well. He received a 2-week recruiting ban, and the school didn't recruit the player for 2 weeks either. A coach called a prospect for the second time in a week. He, too, was barred from recruiting for 2 weeks, and the team didn't call the recruit for 2 weeks. Okay, there you go. Some of the slap on the wrist violations by the Alabama team. A more serious football note out of Georgia came down last night in that the likely projected starter, while Nick Chubb is still coming back from the knee injury, Sony Michel broke his left forearm in an accident on an all-terrain vehicle. This actually came down Sunday night. Had surgery on Monday. And so the team did not say how long his recovery is going to take. Georgia about 8 weeks away from the season opener against North Carolina. Michel, the returning leading rusher, 1,161 yards last season and 8 touchdowns. So you got Michel coming off of that. You got Nick Chubb coming off the knee injury. A little bit of a question mark there at running back for the Bulldogs at this particular point. 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Picking up here on a recruiting note from Ryan Bartow, 24/7 Sports, who talked with quarterback Kamen Curitan out of California, who's a San Jose State commitment. And, at one time, he said he had an offer from South Carolina and interest from the Gamecocks. Hadn't heard all that much about him since back in April when he put that out. But he says he's going to visit USC on the 23rd of July and that he remains in touch with Gamecock offensive coordinator Kurt Roper. So apparently they are still interested in him as a possible take in this class. The Gamecocks have really just one commitment now in the 2017 class at quarterback, and Jay Urich, since Bentley moved up, reclassified and moved up to 2016. So we'll keep a watch out on that. The South Carolina Pro-Am basketball season is coming up. They released the rosters today for all the teams, and here are some of the familiar names who will be playing in this league for a few weeks in July. Begins on the 10th at Heathwood Halls, where they play the games on Sunday afternoons. And let's see. You've got former Gamecock Marcus Stroman playing for the Big Red Box Dumpster rental team with Joe Rice as the coach. Marcus Stroman, Tamarcus Blanton, and Darius Thornwell on that team. Matthew Pegram from Wofford. Derek Brooks from Wofford on that team as well. Ozanti Fields from South Carolina State on that team. Bernie's Chicken, coached by Maurice Walker, will have Gamecock Dwayne Notice on there. Ed Stevens of South Carolina State. Jordan Watson from Limestone. Austin Lawton from Claflin. Chase Brewington from Coker. Justin Mackey from USC. Brandon Morris from Benedict. The Crescent Construction team, coached by Robbie Wells, will have Ty Corbin out of Cal State Bakersfield, the son of Ty Corbin. Will Adams from PC, Ed Drew from PC, Derek Millinghouse from Benedict, Hassani Gravit, the newcomer at USC, former Upstate star Torrey Craig, Cam Jackson from Wofford, Kadeem Guillet from USC will be on that team as well. And let's see, what else? Palmetto Promotions, Coach Terrence Gibson will have, let's looking for some local guys, James Richardson from South Carolina State, Jalen Gilbert from Benedict, Tommy Corciani from USC. Don't know him, must be a walk-on. Marcellus Dunn, formerly of Claflin. The Wheat Farm team, coached by Brian Sanders, will have Devin Downey, former Gamecock, Sadeh Keita from USC, Ian Kennard of South Carolina State, Al Caldwell from Claflin, former South Carolina Stater Darrell Palmer, Karan Wright from South Carolina State, Dietrich Browning from Francis Marion. P.J. Dozier will be on the Founders Federal Credit Union team, coached by Junior Lowry. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Let's go racing for a few minutes. Race on over to Darlington Raceway, where we are racing towards Labor Day. Now that we've got July 4th behind us, let me think. July, August, that's it. There's no other big holidays between now and Labor Day. You're next up on the docket, Dennis Worden, for major holidays with a major sporting event. Labor Day, Bojangles Labor Day weekend, Southern 500.
Yeah, Phil, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. You guys really starting to get things pumped up now that July 4th is behind?
Yeah, yep. July 4th, we had our Freedom Fest out here yesterday, and really great event. I couldn't even tell you how many people showed up. There were so many, and it was a really great fireworks display and a really great festival, and something that we've partnered with the Darlington Chamber of Commerce on the last 3 years, and just keeps getting bigger and better. So, yep, now that that's over, it's time to look ahead. We have no more events on the calendar here at the track. We just got the next 6-7 weeks to get prepared, because it's going to be here before we know it.
Well, it's going to be a critical race as we know it, because it's right towards the end of the regular season, helping to set the field for the chase. We had another interesting outing on Saturday night at Daytona. Boy, I tell you what, the Penske cars, Keselowski, very, very strong. I think he led 115 of the laps. That's some strength there at a restrictor plate racetrack.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Brad Keselowski's got the restrictor plate track down. I mean, Talladega and Daytona, he's got both of those races, four dates a year on the calendar that he really hones in on, and for whatever reason, he's got it figured out. So when he gets out front, it's really tough to beat him. It's funny, you watch the race as it progressed, and he knows how to go down. He changes lanes all the time. He was up at the top, and then when he saw the bottom lane coming in, then he'd get moved down in front of them to kind of stop their momentum. Then he'd move back up to the top again. He'd be doing that the whole second half of the race. It was a great strategy. Penske cars are, the last couple of years have just been so tough, and with Logano and Brad Keselowski. And I really think that when we get a little bit closer to Darlington and obviously get into the 10-race chase, both of those cars are going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I would agree. Of course, Logano caught some grief after the race from some people who thought he was helping out his teammate and getting in the way and this, that, and the other. And Penske was very outspoken coming to his defense. Do you think the criticism is valid?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's just plate racing, really. I mean, Kurt Busch obviously was very unhappy with the way Logano raced him at the end, and but in my mind, I feel like that's just kind of how plate racing plays out. Sometimes you're carrying so much speed, you got all these packs of cars all lined up, and if Logano made a mistake, obviously I don't think it was intentional by any means. Obviously when Roger Penske stands up for his team, you have to listen, because Roger's, one of the classiest owners in NASCAR and in all of racing, really.
Mm-hmm,
and he's been around for decades. And, when he speaks up, you got to kind of listen. And, I don't think Logano intentionally did anything. It just, for whatever reason, the last couple of years, he's just been able to kind of, get wrong place, wrong time sometimes with some of these guys. And, but he's a veteran now, and people have to respect him. And, he's got the most wins of any NASCAR driver the last 2 or 3 years, with 19 wins, more than anybody else. So you got to respect that. So, it's just kind of one of those situations that happens.
Yeah. And, I don't know, Logano, you're right. He is a veteran now, but he still comes across as that skinny, freckled face, a teenager with that grin of his that might get under the skin of some of these older drivers who still see him as a child out there.
Right. And that's part of what he's having to go through. He's been out there a long time now. He's starting to win some races. He's becoming that driver that everybody thought he was going to be. But yeah, a lot of the veterans, the Matt Kenseth of the world, they still look, at him as a rookie almost. And but it's not the case. And he's a great driver. He's got a big heart. You know, he did. You know, I got a chance to really get to know him when he went to Columbia back in the fall when the flood happened in October. And he actually was the only driver that really stood up and visited the flood areas in Columbia, and donated a personal check to the relief efforts. And you know, it's those kind of things that go a long way. He's matured a lot over the last couple of years, and I just think that a championship's just around the corner for him.
All right, so we quickly pick up the pieces from Daytona. By the way, in your conversations with Chip since the weekend, what do you think about how things went with everything they were trying to get going there at Daytona now?
Well, you know, Chip, he actually showed up at our festival yesterday. He, you know, he made the drive Sunday, and it was here on Monday, and I got a chance to catch up with him a little bit. He's on a much needed vacation this week. Yeah. And he, you know, he was really pleased with the way things went. Obviously they had a little bit of rain here and there early in the day, but they were able to get all the races in, and you know, and looking at the crowd on TV, you know, the crowd was actually a stronger crowd than usual for Daytona for the Coke Zero. A lot of times that race sometimes doesn't, you know, get its credit for the amount of people that show up compared to the Daytona 500, but sure. He was really pleased by the way things went. And, you know, for his first kind of official NASCAR event as track president, I think he was really happy by the way everything went.
All right, we move quickly over to Kentucky. We got practice cranking up on Thursday.
Yeah, trucks at the track. You know, it's a full weekend of racing. Just spoke to our, you know, we'll probably talk about that. Our new president, Kerry Tharp, is actually, you know, heading up that way tomorrow. And this is his last race as working for NASCAR at Kentucky. And, you know, he talked to me about how with the repave of the track, you know, they went through a repave. Mm-hmm. You just don't know what's going to happen with a track like that. You know, sometimes, you know, you carry a lot of speed. Obviously, the cars get real fast when you go through a repave, but it also sometimes the racing can suffer too. You know, we went through a repave when I was at Michigan back in 2008, 2009, and it really took a couple of 2-3 years for that racing to really come back to what it was. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few days.
Well, Keselowski goes into the race number 2 in driver rating at Kentucky. Kyle Busch number 1. So, I mean, no reason not to think those two guys won't be battling once again this weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think Kyle Busch, you know, I think he's probably going to be the front runner. You know, I could see a Matt Kenseth, you know, somebody like that, a Carl Edwards, maybe coming out of the Gibbs camp to maybe take the win. But like I said, with the repave, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when it's a whole new track with a whole new surface, you just don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, you could unload, and obviously you have a lot of data from the previous races there and a lot of the mile-and-a-half track. But really, until you get out on the track and get some practice laps in, you're really not going to know what's going to happen. You could assume that Kyle Busch, Keselowski, some of these guys are going to be really good there. But until you actually get some practice in, get some qualifying done, we'll see what happens.
And we look forward to it. Still a relatively new stop on the circuit. Hopefully they've gotten their traffic situation cleared up, because I remember that first year was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, it sounds like they learned their lesson after that first year, because we haven't heard too much the last couple of years.
Yeah,
so,
man. Yeah.
You know, when you got Sprint Cup racing coming to your market, you better be prepared. And obviously that was a really tough year, but it seems like people are going back. You know, it's kind of a tough location for people to get to, kind of up there in northern Kentucky, kind of outside of Louisville, Sparta area. But you know, I'm thinking with the repave and everything, they'll probably put out a pretty good show this weekend.
I will look forward to it. We thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis Worden, the public relations director at Darlington, sort of filling in as we go through the transition from Chip Weil to Kerry Tharp. By the way, as far as the standings go, it's still Kevin Harvick, number 1, Keselowski 2, Busch is 3. That's Kurt Busch. Logano 4, and Carl Edwards is 5th. 16 right now is Jamie McMurray, and he is 6 points ahead of number 17, Trevor Bayne. As for Tony Stewart, he's right where he needs to be. He's number 30. Trying to get inside the 30 and inside with a win, which he has, qualifies him for the postseason. So he's right on that cutoff line, that personal cutoff line for him. Back in a moment. Thanks again to Dennis Worden for being with us here on Sports Talk. All right, here is the complete roster for the All-Star game as it stands now. The starters and the reserves have now been announced. The American League starters at catcher, Salvador Perez of the Royals. First baseman, Eric Hosmer, Royals. Second baseman, Jose Altuve, Astros. Third baseman, Manny Machado, Orioles. Shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, Red Sox. Outfield, Mookie Betts, Red Sox. Jackie Bradley Jr., Red Sox. And Mike Trout of the Angels. The DH is David Ortiz of the Red Sox. The American League reserves are okay. Well. I see the American League starters, National League starters, reserves for the National League, National League pitchers. Are they not announcing? Maybe the American League reserves and pitchers have not yet been determined. But anyway, here's what we've got for the National League. Catcher Buster Posey, Giants. First baseman Anthony Rizzo, Cubs. Second baseman Ben Zobrist, Cubs. Third baseman Chris Bryant, Cubs. Shortstop Addison Russell, Cubs. Outfielder Jonas Cespedes, Mets. Outfielder Dexter Fowler, Cubs. Outfielder Bryce Harper, Nationals. Now the National League reserves, the catchers, Jonathan Lucroy, Brewers. Wilson Ramos, Nationals. First baseman Paul Goldschmidt, Diamondbacks. Will Myers of the Padres, former Gamecock signee, for those of you who are not aware. Second baseman Matt Carpenter, Cardinals. Daniel Murphy, Nationals. Third baseman Nolan Arenado of the Rockies. Nolan Arenado, Rockies. Shortstop Corey Seager, Dodgers. Outfielders Adam Duvall, Reds. Carlos Gonzalez, Rockies. Odubel Herrera, Phillies. Marcell Ozuna, Marlins. National League pitchers Jake Arrieta, Cubs. Madison Bumgarner, Giants. Johnny Cueto, Giants. Jeurys Familia, Mets. Jose Fernandez, Marlins. Kenley Jansen, Dodgers. John Lester, Cubs. Clayton Kershaw, Dodgers, but he's inactive. Mark Melanson, Pirates. A.J. Ramos, Marlins. Fernando Rodney, Marlins. Steven Strasburg, Nationals. Noah Syndergaard, Mets. Julio Teheran, Braves. They had to have one. They had to have one, so it's him, Julio Teheran of the Braves. So I guess I don't know the format here. American League starters, National League starters, reserves. I'm looking at the MLB website. Why we don't have the others? I must be missing something here. Let's see. Each league on Friday. Sometimes observes. Pick up. No, I don't see anything about why we're not getting the American League reserves and pitchers here yet. Maybe again, it's maybe it's an ESPN special that they're saving it for later on tonight. But that's what we've got for you so far as the baseball All-Star game is concerned. Let's see what else I want to pass along to you. Let's update some baseball scores then while we're taking a look at MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Phillies are beating the Braves 1-0. That's in the top of the fourth inning. Nationals lead Milwaukee 1-0, top of the third. Blue Jays over Kansas City 3-0, bottom of the third. Mets and Marlins are scoreless in the fourth. Angels lead Tampa Bay 4-1 in the second. Indians over the Tigers 2-0 in the third. The Rangers lead Boston 2-0 in the second. By the way, I don't know if you were paying attention, but Michael Roth was called up by the Rangers on Sunday. He appeared in yesterday's game against the Red Sox. Needless to say, it did not go well for him. He entered the game in the fifth inning trailing 5-4. He proceeded to give up. He pitched the rest of the way. He gave up 10 hits, 6 runs, and 3 home runs as they got beat 12-5. He faced Jackie Bradley in that first inning in the game, and Jackie took him to the wall, ground rule double off his former teammate. So he was treated kind of rudely by his former buddy and by the Red Sox. But maybe the Rangers are going to get their revenge tonight. They're up early on the Red Sox 2-0 in the top of the second. So you're up to date there on Major League Baseball. So I think we have covered most everything that I wanted to cover with you tonight. Is there anything else I wanted to mention? I think we have touched on most everything. So we will hit a break, and we'll be back to wrap up tonight and talk about what's ahead tomorrow night here on Sports Talk in just a moment. All right, back with you, Sports Talk. Final minutes of the program tonight. I think we have now come up with the American League reserves and pitchers. Yep, here we go. Just being posted by the folks there at MLB. The American League reserves: Miguel Cabrera, first base, Tigers; third base, Josh Donaldson, Blue Jays; outfield, Mark Trumbo, Orioles; DH, Edwin Encarnacion, Blue Jays; second baseman, Robinson Cano, Mariners; catcher, Matt Wieters of the Orioles. Congratulations to the South Carolinian. Catcher, Stephen Vogt of the Athletics. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor of the Indians. Infielder, Eduardo Nunez of the Twins. Outfielder, Carlos Beltran of the Yankees. And outfielder, Ian Desmond of the Rangers. Okay, and let's see here. I don't have here the American League pitchers, but I think I've got them on Twitter. This stuff is all over the place. The American League pitchers. Don't have any of the first names here, just reading it off Twitter from MLB. Just put it out a few moments ago. Betances, Brack, Britton, Colomb, Davis, Estrada, Hamels, Harris, Herrera, Kimbrell, Miller, Salazar, Sale, and Wright. American League pitchers for the All-Star game, which is coming up at Petco Park in San Diego. Now, tomorrow night here on Sports Talk, Marcus Lattimore will be with us. Looking forward to having the former Gamecock great with us to talk about some things that he is involved with. Besides, of course, coaching some high school football here in the Columbia area, Marcus is involved, of course, in a number of different things, youth football camps, things of that nature. Going to talk with him about that coming up on the program tomorrow night, as well as some actual good football stuff. And then tomorrow night as well, Gary Gilmore from Coastal Carolina, named over the weekend the National Coach of the Year by a couple of more organizations, Collegiate Baseball, the American Baseball Coaches Association, well-deserved, of course. You win the national championship, you should be recognized as such. By the way, if you haven't had a chance to vote yet, had a lot of people chiming in on our poll question, which we'll keep up this week. Who was the college baseball player of the year in South Carolina? And so far, we have had a lot of votes. And Andrew Beckwith from Coastal currently is your leader at 28.87%, 168 votes. Seth Beer of Clemson is, well, you know what? Actually, Gene Cone of South Carolina is second with 160 votes. Seth Beer of Clemson is next at 135 votes. And there's many more you can vote for. So go to the website, sportstalksc.com. Get your vote in there. Thank you, Carsonova. Great job. Good having you back. Thanks to all of you for being with us tonight. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.